Okay, we'll talk about the first section of the capital budgeting. All right, this section will cover the NPV and the capital decisions. All right, so today we talk about the NPVs, we talk about the AAR, the IRR, and also the payback period. The total 4 different methods we are using here. All right, this is the second section on the second section of the capital budgeting, and the last section of capital budgeting. So the previous week we talked about the cash flow. Okay, now we're going to talk about the NPV and the others, the other 3 others way to calculate your budgeting, the worthiness of investment. So let's look at, let's begin with the, all right, this is the same slides. All right, today's the learning outcome. So we will be able to calculate the payback period, the AAR, the internal rate of return, IRR, the NPV, and also knowing what is the estimations, when do we reject, when do we accept also. So let's start. The first section will be talking about the net present value and its capital decisions. So there are few decision criteria here that we're going to talk about. So first of all, this is 3 criteria that you want to focus on. First, does the decision rule adjust for the time value of money? Does they take consideration of time value of money? Does NPV take value of time value for money? Okay, so does the decision rule adjust for risk? Do they take into consideration of the risk? And does the decision rule provide information on whether we are creating value for the firm? Are we creating an opportunity for the firm? Let's look through this. This is 3 different. By the end of the section of this lecture in this particular section, you will be able to identify, does NPV cover all these questions or not? Okay, so what is NPV? NPV basically the difference between the market value of a project and its cost. So what does it mean by the market value? So the whole project will give you a current value. How much is it? Okay, so you know investments, right? You know investments, so you invest in a certain thing, they'll tell you the return to your investment is how many percent. For example, now you invest $1,000, they tell you 1 year later, after including interest and so on and so forth, you get $1,002. So that is the market value 1 year later. Your investment that you do, your stocks that you bought today, worth $1,002 next year. So that is the value we're talking about, the net present value of the project now in 1 year time. So net present value basically you need to deduct the cost also. So for you to invest in that, your cost is 1,000. So your profit is only $200. So that is your net present value. Okay. So how much value is created from undertaking an investment? So this is how it works. So the first step, estimate the expected future cash flow. What is the cash flow going to be like? How much of money coming in? How much money you're generating in a yearly basis? Second step is to estimate the required return for project of this risk level. So with this kind of risk potential, what is the expected return you are thinking about? All right, the interest rate here is going to be the required return for your project. And the last step, the third step, is to find the present value of the cash flow and subtract the initial investment. So like I mentioned just now, you know in the next 3 years, you're going to generate income from this project. So all those money, you discounted it to today, what is the value? And then that value deduct your investment value, your initial investment. The net of the deduction will be your gross profit, that will be your net profit margin. Okay, that is your net profit, the net gain from this investment. So clear, this is very easy. So net present value is basically the value today of all those cash flow that you receive in the next few years from a project after discounting to today, today's value, minus off the cost of your investment. That is your net present value. Okay, take that in mind. Keep that in mind. So what is an NPV decision rule? So how do you only consider NPV is good? So first of all, NPV is positive. Okay, if NPV value is positive, you can accept the project. So as long as NPV is more than 0, this project is worth investing in. Doesn't matter. So as long as it's more than 0, there's a value there, you can accept it. A positive NPV means that the project is expected to add value to the firm. All right, this is to answer the 3 questions initially we see that. Talking about time value for money, the risk, and also does it add value. So positive NPV already show that it's adding value to the firm. That means the value going to gain. Okay, since our goal is to increase owner wealth, all right, you remember this, our job is to always maximize shareholders' wealth. So goal is to increase owner wealth. NPV is a direct measure of how well this project will meet our goal. How much of money you're going to gain from this project. That is NPV. All right. Before we going to the next one, the payback period, looks back at the first three questions here. So in this case, NPV take into consideration of time value of money. Why? Because you discounted all the cash flow in future to today's value. Today, you're talking about what is the value of you're going to receive 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years later. Today, what is the value of the money? So they take into consideration of time value of money. They're discounting it backwards. So does the decision rule adjust for risk? Yes, just now we already see that. They take into consideration of risk by setting a required rate of return. And lastly, does it create value? If the NPV is more than a 0 or is a positive value, then it already created a value for a firm. Clear? So it's yes for all three of the statements. So the next way, the next method to calculate is the investment worth it or not, will be using payback period. So how do you count payback period? So payback period is basically estimation of the cash flow. How much of money are you going to receive? All right. And then you subtract the future cash flow from the initial cost until the initial investment has been recovered. Okay. So you'll be generating income in a constant basis. Okay. Use this income, deduct your cost until your initial investment. For example, if you invested $1 million and then every month you receive 100,000, 100,000, 100,000. So when will only you manage to get back this $1 million? 10 months later. So your payback period is 10 months. That's how you count payback period. Okay. So except if the payback period is less than some preset limit. So if your payback period expectation to get return for this investment is 3 years, but then you only get it back after 3 years, then you don't accept this project. If your expectation to receive this, the payback period that you expected from this project to gain all the return is within 3 years, but then this project secure it to manage to give you back your return by the first year itself, then you accept that project. It's a valuable, it's a doable, it's a high return project then. Okay, so make sure it's within the time frame, then yes, you accept. If it's out of the time frame, you reject. Very simple. All right. So now, again, look at a few questions here, the decision criteria of the payback period. So does the payback period, okay, take into account of time value of money? The answer is no. All right, no, they don't take into consideration of time value of money. They never discount it. No discount, no discounting. They basically look at how much money you receive and then you deduct it and see when you're going to get back your initial investment. That's all. No discounting factors there. So no discounting means never take into consideration of time value of money. So does the payback rule account for the risk of the cash flow? So now it's not taking into consideration of any risk because no expected return, no nothing. You see that you get back your money within the time frame that you set already, then you are happy enough. But you don't know whether it's because of time value of money, value depreciated, whether you get back what you're supposed to get or not, you don't know. Okay? Does the payback rule provide an indication about the increase in value? No, it does not show anything about that. Should we consider payback rule our primary decision criteria? So you use this as the sole decision to take a project or not? Definitely a no. Okay, so we already covered two methods. One is NPV, another is payback period. Okay, you know that payback period is not reliable. It's just a guide. You just use it to calculate only roughly when is your payback period, but it could not be the one that influence your decision to use a particular project or not. So what is the advantages of payback period? Simple. The advantages of payback period is easy to understand. Okay, and it's a good supplementary information. It's like an extra information. All right. The disadvantages here is they ignore time value of money, requires an arbitrary cut-off point. That means you set a cut-off point, ignore cash flow beyond the cut-off period. So whether money is still coming after that or not, you don't care. You never question about it. And bias against long-term project. For long-term project, you're definitely not going to be, you're definitely not going to accept long-term projects here. You're looking at short-term. The faster you receive, the better it is. But you don't know. Maybe the long-term project might be giving you a much more return. So we did not take into consideration of that. That is the disadvantage of the payback period. This is the downside of it. So moving on, the next methods that you could use okay, would be the average accounting return, or we call it AAR. All right, this is the third method, AAR. So AAR, there are many different definitions for average accounting return, different definition. So the one in your textbook, it tell you it means average net income divided by average net book value. Okay, so this one also, they need a cut-off rate. And the decision rule is accept the project if the AAR is greater than the preset rate. So if you already set the particular rate, the expected return, expected accounting return you set there. So if the counted project AAR is higher than that, then you can accept. Simple, very easy. So what is this AAR? Let's look at it. So how do you compute AAR for a project? So assume we require an average accounting return of 25%. So you're expecting to have 25%. This 25%, you don't know where it comes from. You just pick from the sky. So you're doing a project, then you're expecting, okay, this project I want to get 25%. That's how it came about. There's no research on it. There's no supportive evidence on it. So where this 25% come out for? So there's no supporting evidence to it. Does it 25% secure your gain or not? Does it take into consideration of time value for money or not? So you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. Okay. And then the given average book value of this project is $72,000. So the average net income will be cash flow 1, cash flow 2 plus cash flow 3. So in the question, usually they'll give you different cash flow coming in. So the average net income will be total out of all the cash flow divided by the number of periods. All right, then from there, you already get the average net income, and then you divide it by the book value given to you, $72,000. So you can see what is your AAR then. So after doing this in the example, if there is a question come out like that, you do this. So how do you make a decision later? We look at that. All right. So decision here, how do you make? So over here, you talk about average net income or average book value. If the AAR you get is more than 25%, okay, then you accept. If less than 25%, you don't accept. It's simple. It's just like payback period. You already preset the limit there. So look again at the 4 questions. These 4 questions will show you whether this is a valuable method or not, or this is a reliable method or not. Is this, or maybe is this method useful or not? So from here, you look at it. So the criteria here, the first criteria, does AAR take into consideration of time value of money? I mentioned it just now. No. Okay, no, because you don't even know where is the preset percentage come from. You don't know where you take that from also. It's just a random thought. Second, does the AAR rule account for the risk of the cash flow? No, they never take into consideration. No discounting factor, no time value for money there, no expected return also. You just set the return out of the blue. So does the AAR rule provide an indication about the increase in value? So whether the company gonna gain value or not, you wouldn't know also, not given any information. And can this be a primary decision? No, this is like a payback period like that. Okay, it cannot be a core decision maker method. It's just a supplementary. So look at it, the advantages. So AAR is easy to calculate. The needed information will usually available, easy to get also. The disadvantage is not the true rate of return because it's just an estimation, don't know where, God knows where you get it from. And it uses an arbitrary benchmark cutoff rate, same like the one in payback period, and based on accounting net income and book values. So basically depending on your own values of your investments. So this is not reliable to make decision making. Okay, so this is just basically another supplementary, just like payback period. So we covered 3: NPV, payback period, and then AAR. So NPV is a primary decision maker. Payback and AAR is supplementary. They could not be the core method for you to use to justify your project making money or not. Last method here, IRR. What is IRR? Okay, IRR is the second most important alternative to NPV. Other than NPV, IRR is the only one that could be a decision maker. Okay, it is based entirely on the estimated cash flow and is independent of interest rate found elsewhere. So it's based on your cash flow. All right, let's look through it. What is IRR then? So IRR is the returns that makes NPV equal to 0. What is the required internal rate of return? So in the end of the day, your NPV equals to 0. So from there, you already estimated how do you need to, how much do you need to at least have in mind as the discounting factor so that your NPV will be at least 0. Okay, so accept the project if the IRR is greater than the required return. So required return is to calculate the risk. So if you have a required return of 10%, if your IRR is more than 10%, IRR is interest rate, IRR is more than 10%, then accept the project. All right, let's look through it. So this is the formula to count IRR. So if you do not have the calculator with you, you can only use a try and error process to count the IRR. It's troublesome. You need to use the PVIFA and the PVIF table if you don't have an financial calculator for this. And IRR is the returns that make the NPV equals to 0. So always remember, IRR is a figure that makes NPV equals 0. Then only you can count your IRR percentage. So the criteria here, does the IRR rule account for time value for money? Yes, they do. Does IRR rule account for the risk of the cash flow? Yes, take into consideration of risk also because they got required rate of return. Whenever you see there's a required rate of return or ROR, that means they take into consideration of risk. Whenever they're discounting the cash flow backwards, they are taking consideration of time value of money. Okay, does IRR provide an indication about the increase in value? Yes, because it shows your NPV equals to 0. That means break even already, and NPV 0 means break even already. And should we consider IRR as the primary decision criteria? Yes, you can use IRR as a primary decision maker because they cover the other 3 criteria perfectly. Same like NPV. So NPV is IRR is basically second to NPV. The advantage of IRR, it is a simple way to communicate the value of a project to someone who doesn't know all the estimation detail. It's easy to tell them. You just tell them the internal rate of return compared to the expected return. Okay, this. People understand it easily. So if the IRR is high enough, you may not even need to have a required rate of return. It shows itself in a percentage form that this is the profitability already. All right. So let's know the comparison between NPV and IRR. Okay, both of these is the core method now that basically gonna give you a decision to make decision whether to invest in the project or not. It shows the same benchmark. It gives the same benchmark whether this is worthy or not. All right, there's only exceptions where IRR is not as good as NPV. 2 scenarios where IRR is not as good. One, during the non-conventional cash flow. Okay, what is a non-conventional cash flow? Non-conventional cash flow means the money coming in fluctuating. It's not a constant growth. Let's say it's 100,000 first year, second year is 100, maybe it's 80,000, then the following year is negative 100,000. So cash flow is changing, it's fluctuating. So it's non-conventional. Okay, and second scenario is a mutually exclusive project. So this means out of 2 projects, you can only choose 1. Okay, so initial investments are substantially different. Timing of cash flow is substantially different also. So this will be exception. IRR cannot use, you use NPV only. Okay, what is mutually exclusive project? That means out of 10 projects, you can only choose 1, the best one out of the 10. Okay, IRR can identify out of the 10, which of it is going to be profitable. So maybe out of 10, you calculated 8 also give you profit. But then you cannot make a decision which one is the best. So you must use NPV to calculate among the 10, which one is the best among the 10. That one, you must only use NPV. Only NPV is usable. So 2 scenarios, one is non-conventional cash flow, another one during a mutually exclusive project. When there are a lot of projects and you can only choose 1. So this scenario, you can only use NPV and not IRR. So let's look at it why. So during a non-conventional cash flow, all right, this is an example. Suppose an investment will cost you 90,000 initially and will generate the following cash flow. Year 1, 132K, year 2, 100K, and year 3, negative 150,000. So given to you, the required rate of return is 15%. Should you accept this project or reject or not? So this is the time that you use the NPV method. Okay, you use the NPV method. So I'll teach you how to use the NPV method in the tutorial. Okay, I'll show you how to use the calculator. I will even show you what is a manual way to do it too. All right, but I think with the calculator, it saves lives a lot, it make it easier. All right, so let's look at it. So in the non-conventional cash flow, from the previous question, the NPV is positive at the required rate of return of 15%. Okay, so your return, your interest rate, your required return is 15%. All right, and then the NPV given to you is positive. What I tell you, when NPV is more than 0, you can accept the project. So here, you accept it. Although the cash flow is different, now you see 132, 100,000, then negative there. So people see negative, oh man, you're going to lose money. So no, so you count the NPV from here, see whether it's a positive or negative. If it's a positive figure, then you can accept still. You need to recognize that they are non-conventional cash flow and that you need to look at the NPV profile. So when it's a non-conventional cash flow, it's a changing cash flow, you need to look at the NPV. All right. So what if in the mutually exclusive project? So the IRR could not use for a mutually exclusive project. Why? So mutually exclusive project means if you choose one, you can't choose the other. So you can only choose one project here. Okay. Intuitively, okay, you would use the following decision rule. NPV, choose the project with the higher NPV. If it's IRR, choose the project with the higher IRR. So let me show you why I suggest that only use NPV here. Okay, the confusion will happen in the next slides. I will show you. So, but then if you want to use both, also can actually. So NPV, if you use NPV, you choose the project the highest NPV. If IRR, you choose the project with the higher IRR. Okay, so look at this situation. This is an example. If it's for a mutually exclusive project, there is project A and project B. So there's 2 periods there. Period 0, that means investment of negative 500 for project A, negative 400 for project B. Period 1, you get 325 for project A, 325 for project B. Period 2, you get 325 for project A and 200 for project B. So from here, they are given to you IRR and NPV. And NPV and also IRR is 19.43 and your 22.17 is for project B. So if you look into IRR, this is bigger. Okay, if you look into IRR, this is bigger. Makes sense, huh? 22.17. But if you look at NPV, this is bigger. So how do you make this decision? All right, both project is 10%, the required rate of return. So both also exceeded. Required rate is 10%. So IRR both also exceeded, but you want to choose the highest, so project B is supposed to be IRR highest, NPV this one higher, So which one you should choose then? Okay, so this is the conflict between NPV and IRR. NPV directly measure the increase in value to the firm. Okay, whenever there's a conflict between NPV and another decision rule, whether this is going to be payback, okay, AAR or IRR, you always use NPV. So in this scenario, you choose project A because NPV is bigger than anything else. All right. So IRR is unreliable in the following situation: non-conventional and mutually exclusive. So I told you 2 scenarios. These 2 scenarios, NPV is king. In fact, NPV is king for all the among all the methods. Remember this. All right. So next, making capital decision. All right. How to make capital decision using relevant cash flow. The cash flow that should be included in a capital budgeting analysis are those that will only occur if the project is accepted. Okay, so what kind of cash flow will you be taking into consideration in your capital budgeting? So you need to take consideration that those will only occur if the project is accepted. If those will be occurring, even though without the project, it's not included, it's not important, that one. So when you do a capital budgeting analysis for a particular project, you only take into consideration of those cash flow that will only be affected if the project is being activated. So this cash flow are called incremental cash flow. It is an additional to your company running cash flow. Because after accepting this project, this is the additional. The standalone principle allows us to analyze each project in isolation. Okay, you are studying each project individually. So you don't pile it up together because you cannot see the clarity of it. Which one going to make more money then? So always ask yourself these few questions. You should always ask yourself, will this cash flow change only if you accept the project or not? If the answer is yes, it should be included in the analysis. It should be in the capital budgeting. If the answer is no, then don't include. If it's part of it, only take that part of it which is supposed to be inside the analysis to take into consideration. If not, take out the one that is not necessary at all. Okay, these are the common types of cash flow that you might take into consideration. Sunk costs, which is costs that have already paid in the past, okay, cannot get back already. One, bad debts, we consider as bad debts also. Opportunity cost, cost of lost options. That means you choose these options, you lost the potential of the other options. So this is the opportunity cost. You sacrifice something. I told you guys before that in last week tutorial on the machineries. You take another machine to upgrade another machine. So the opportunity cost is the machine being sacrificed. So side effects, there are two. One is positive side effects. Another one is the negative side effects. A positive side effects will give benefit to other projects, whereas the negative side will incur costs. Okay, take into consideration of changes in net working capital, NWC, you know, your financing costs, and your taxes. These are the common types of cash flow that you might want to take into consideration when you do your capital decision making table, when you want to count your budgeting, when you want to do your capital budgeting. So all these are the few things or the few components that you must focus on. All right, we'll go through this more in depth during the tutorial session. Then we'll see what is more important, what should be not missing out, what should be taking more focus into it. All right. Okay. So I already uploaded your questions already uploaded in times for some time. Okay. So I will see you guys later at 4 o'clock for our tutorial. We'll discuss the questions that are already uploaded. Okay. So see you guys and take care. All right. This will be on the discussion of this question on this lecture will be on the 29th of June. All right. So see you guys on this topic on 29th of June for tutorial.